Right now is the U.S. Congressman involved here, the leader here, I'd say, Elijah Cummings of Maryland, ranking Democrat on the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Also, David Corn joins me from Mother Jones, an MSNBC political analyst. Let's start with the far-right's obsession with the IRS, sir, which earlier today erupted into one of the most dramatic scenes you will ever see in a congressional hearing room. It started with Oversight Committee Chairman, Representative Darrell Issa, recalling IRS official Lois Lerner to the witness stand after she previously took the fifth in a hearing last May. Well, she took the fifth again today, but not before Issa made a spectacle out of the proceedings by berating her with 10 consecutive questions about this non-scandal. She didn't answer any of them. When the ranking member of the committee, our guest, Elijah Cummings, tried to interject, Issa literally cut off his microphone and declared the hearing over. Let's watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, seeking the truth is the obligation of this committee. I can see no point in going further. I have no expectation that Ms. Lerner will cooperate with this committee, and therefore we stand adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement. I have a procedural question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a procedural question. Mr. Chairman, you cannot run a committee like this. You just cannot do this. We're better than that as a country. We're better than that as a committee. I have asked for a few minutes to ask a procedural. And now you're turning me off. I don't care. The fact is I'm asking a question. I am the ranking member of the committee, and I want to ask a question. What are we hiding? What's the big deal? May I ask my question? May I state my statement?
You're all free to leave. We've adjourned, but the gentleman may ask his question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I have one procedural question, and it goes to trying to help you get the information, by the way, that you just asked.
What is your question?
Let me say what I have to say. I've listened to you for the last 15 or 20 minutes. Let me say what I have to say. Mr. Chairman, I have one procedural question.
Ms. Lerner, you're released. You may.
But first, I would like to use my time to make some brief points. For the past year, the central Republican accusation in this investigation...
We're adjourned. Close it down.
We're adjourned. Close it down. That's democracy. It didn't end there. Issa continued his attempt to silence Congressman Cummings. Let's watch the whole moment here. Here it is.
Where is your question? But if you will sit down and allow me to ask the question, I am a member of the United States of America. I am tired of this.
Well,
we have members over here, each who represent 700,000 people. You cannot just have a one-sided investigation. There is absolutely something wrong with that, and it is absolutely un-American.
Hear, hear.
we had a hearing. It was adjourned. I gave you an opportunity to ask a question. You had no question.
I do have a question.
I gave you an opportunity to speak.
Chairman, what are you hiding?
Whoa, and it went on like that. Whether the hearing was technically over or not, it didn't matter to the Democrats on the panel. U.S. Congressman Cummings, you kept talking, and Lois Lerner sat there and listened. Congressman Jerry Connolly, a Democrat for Virginia, then spoke. Both you and Connolly were shouting to the room because the microphones had been disabled, and this went on for about 5 minutes. Well, anyway, after Chairman Issa walked out of the hearing room, he went straight to reporters to say that you were, quote, slandering him. Issa also proclaimed that he was moving forward with the investigation. Congressman Cummings, this had looked like you guys were there as a studio audience to sit there and watch this opera bouffe go on, whereby the woman took the official took the Fifth Amendment. Everybody knew her answer would be the same, and then he goes to this operatic process of asking 10 questions for the cameras, not for the person in the booth there, in the witness chair.
Yeah, the 10 questions, Chris, I think were basically, he wanted to, I guess, embarrass her. But the key here, Chris, is that over the past 9 months, this investigation has been conducted. But several months ago, Russell George, the IG, who was appointed by a Republican administration, by the way, the IG, said that there was no White House involvement with regard to these IRS so-called targeting, nor was there any political motivation. That was already stated, and we have now interviewed in a bipartisan way 38 witnesses from IRS. They spent $14 million over the past 9 months answering subpoenas from Chairman Issa and other Republicans, and there is no evidence, but they want us to believe, and that's what this is all about, I think, that the president, that is the White House, had something to do with these efforts on the part of the IRS. Now, keep in mind, if we were really looking for the truth, we would bring forward the man who said he started all of this, the conservative Republican 20-year veteran of the IRS who said he was the one that started it. Now, Chairman Issa has refused to bring him before our committee and the country so that he can explain what he was doing. And even he said there was no political motivation and the White House was not involved in this whatsoever.
Let me bring in David Corn here for a second. David, it looks to me like, totally apart from the procedures of the committee and what happened there, it looks like it's part of this continual updating, if you will, ripping off of the scab of the IRS talk. Of course, they do it on health care again. They had yet another vote today on health care. Benghazi, they talk about it every 15 minutes. And now Ukraine. They need to have this consistent list of drums to beat over and over again. They got to keep them alive. They got to have hearings, even though Lois Lerner wasn't going to testify, even though there's nothing new to ask her.
They don't
keep it alive through November.
Yes, they don't want this to fade away. Congressman Cummings is right. If you look at some of the testimony that he's released, it shows that there was no specific targeting only of Tea Party groups, which is the essence of Republican charge, and that it was connected to the White House. That has totally evaporated. So what do? You bring forward someone in like circus, in a Soviet-style, show trial capacity, who you know is going to plead the fifth. So you can just ask these questions. Isn't it true that this? Isn't it true that? Knowing that they will not answer, rather than bring forward people who might tell you what really happened. What happened at the IRS, as you know, was a problem. There is something to investigate. It's not a political witch hunt, but something went wrong. But they don't want to do that. So the idea is just keep bringing up.
What went wrong?
So what went wrong was they were targeting groups on the left and the right, in the middle, on the basis.
But no direction from the White House at all. Congressman, you're ranking member of the committee. You know everything there is to know. Is there any reason to believe that somebody in the White House, anybody in the White House ever made a call over there and said, screw the right-wing groups?
There's no evidence of that whatsoever. And Chairman Issa knows that. Keep in mind, Chris, what I was trying to do today was follow up on something that Chairman Issa had been involved in, that is getting a proffer from Ms. Lerner's attorney, and basically he would have told us what her answers to those questions would be. And it would not be binding on the committee, and they could still pursue her in any way they wanted to. But he didn't even want to hear that. That's why he shut it down. And the attorney had offered to do that.
Let me ask you about a personal aspect. Did you feel personally indignant, and fairly so, that he was not treating you as ranking member the way he should? You know the protocol on the Hill. Was he breaking with protocol? How would you characterize what we saw in the movie, on the pictures there?
I can't, Chris, I've been around long enough, 63 years on this earth, and I got to tell you, I don't get caught up in the disrespect thing. I've seen so much of it. But what I do get caught up in is distractions. When you distract me from finding the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. When you cherry pick information and there, but don't give me the entire picture and only present the evidence that you want to hear, and then just to your liking, but excludes other evidence. That's what I'm more concerned about, because I think that's unfair to our committee and it's unfair to the American people. And it goes against our credibility as a Congress and a committee.
Thank you. And as I said, the far right does tend to use Benghazi as its universal theory. They'll connect it to any issue as an excuse to attack President Obama. There is no topic too out there for them to cry Benghazi, by the way. And this was here was just a few of them. We're tying together this because they do it all the time. Benghazi, IRS, healthcare, and now Ukraine. Let's watch it again here.
This is a symptom of a greater problem. It really, in many ways, started with Benghazi, when our consulate was overrun and our first ambassador was killed in 30-something years in the line of duty.
One of the problems with all of this focus on Syria is it's missing the ball from what we should be focused on, which is the grave threat from radical Islamic terrorism. I mean, just this week is the one-year anniversary of the attack on Benghazi. When it happened, the president promised to hunt down the wrongdoers, and yet a few months later, the issue has disappeared.
It's a way for us to get information. In the case of the talking points composition, we've been totally stonewalled throughout that process.
We've had a couple of years in Washington with a lot of situations like that IRS thing, Benghazi, et cetera. We have a president that runs away from press conferences like this, never takes accountability, never fires anybody.
You know, it's like being Rudy Giuliani or somebody. You got to go on a Sunday show or something. Yeah. All you have to do is remember the 3 words: IRS, Benghazi, and healthcare.
Or Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi.
Yeah,
but let's just look at what Ted Cruz said, because this is really kind of telling. How long did it take to get Osama bin Laden? 10 years. And the president, as we know, for the whole backstory, was dedicated, devoted, and pushed the bureaucracy could and took a gutsy call at the end of the day to go after him. And now he's saying a few months after Benghazi that we haven't gotten the guys yet, and that shows the president is weak and feckless. This stuff doesn't pass the laugh test. Yeah. But yet his base, his audience, the people who Giuliani's talking to, people
the peanut gallery is laughing.
They
love it out there.
The Benghazi stuff over and over again, and it's a dishonor to Ambassador Chris Stevens. We should be talking about Benghazi in a serious way, not using it as political fodder.
Congressman Elijah Cummings, sir, thank you so much for coming on tonight after a strange day in the U.S. Congress. It wasn't a good day for the chairman of that committee. Thank you so much as well, David Corn, for coming on. Coming up,